Okay, Michelle, 2 questions for you right out of the gate. I took some time to scroll and look all over the place about you because I'm a journalist and that's what we do. So this is what I've observed about you. You are a consummate hat wearer, you wear dresses all the time, and you have beautiful long hair. But, one of the very cool things I learned about you is that you did a murder mystery theater sort of thing. So I want to talk a little bit about that because I feel like a lot of actors kind of steer clear oftentimes doing the theater thing. So tell me a bit about that.
I love being on stage. It's my passion for sure. It's just maybe not the best way for finances. Film, I think, is better in that regard. The play I did this summer, it was an original piece. I'm from Atlantic City, New Jersey. Woo! Yes, they call it the Bootlegged Vegas. So it was an original piece, and it was about a casino, and I played a detective, and it had different interesting characters that were around the poker table, and it was, am I allowed to curse or no? It was a shit show, this play. Like, all the actors, it was like a month rehearsal, and then tech last second, and it was great, except the tech lighting guy forgot his cue, and I was a detective, and I was supposed to, the light was supposed to go off, and the light, when it turns on, the grandma's on the floor. The light never went off. And I'm like, okay. And I'm trying to whisper to the grandma, like, what are you going to fall to the floor or what? So it was, like, improv is not my best skill. And then we had a break, and then we came back for the second act, and I had to just go extra harder because I came more in the second piece of like interrogating the characters and stuff. I have no idea if that answered any of the question that you asked about, but I felt PTSD for that play. It was called The Last Hand.
I'm so sorry I asked.
No, it's okay. Also, it's like they were doing a projector also showing the hand that they were playing because it's on stage, and it was a big theater at the Claridge Hotel. So last second, they're like, "Oh, let's just make sure the projector's working." It wasn't working. It never worked. So you just see actors playing, whispering, and the audience is like, "Okay, sure." But thank God there was a bar there, so I think the audience enjoyed themselves a lot with drinks and stuff, and yeah. I love theater.
Thank you so much for that, as a matter of fact. And to talk about something else more interesting, the Playboy. You wrote a project called Playboy of Park Slope.
You were trying to look at my MVD credits or something. I'm like, not the Playboy. I co-wrote it with my friend named Joe, but he was definitely like the head person of it, and we did it during COVID. And when you work with people, make sure that you guys have the same sense of humor, and you guys have the same goals, and that's something in like my career so far that I'm like, not bump heads, but it's just experiences that you learn from, right? Sure. So then when I realized that maybe our humor was a little different, I kind of took like a back step because I also started it as an actor.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, let me not. But when we were on set, I was like, make sure that this and this is happening. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like a baby fake director right now because I am co-writer. So it is like a piece of,
I get it.
But it was fun to shoot it. It's about this virgin played by my friend Dan. And then like I play the bestie, and I'm trying to like make him lose his virginity, and if not, and if he didn't lose it at a certain timeline, I would bang him out, and that was and then, but then we like fell for each other, and then like he did bang someone else out and didn't tell me, and I was livid, and that's it.
Interesting.
Playboy Park Slope, yeah. That's
she has some intriguing stuff on here.
Yeah.
The other thing that caught my eye, we have to talk about the TV series, The Stories of Sleep Paralysis. I've never seen something like that, and it was fascinating to me because it's a very different kind of topic, and it was shot very differently from what I can tell with the very little I haven't watched it. So talk to me a bit about TV versus film is a weird creature, I find.
It is.
When you talk to a TV actor versus a film actor, there's clear differences.
Yeah.
So someone like yourself, I wouldn't have anticipated doing any form of television, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
really,
why the drop?
This was a fun piece by Jesse's friends. Remember Justin and Casey? And they did something with another acting friend of me, so I got referred to them. I auditioned. They were really nice. I had sleep paralysis my whole entire life. I don't know if you guys have. I know my brother has. We've talked about it. They call it the devil's blanket, and it's like your mind's awake, but your body's like dead. It's horrible. I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. I've had it my whole life. So when they were like, hey, I was like, oh no, yes, please hire me because I'm very like used to it. Have you had sleep paralysis?
No, fortunately, I just don't sleep.
Okay,
so
that makes sense. Yeah. So, side note, TMI, but I remember that morning, I shot it at like 5 in the morning, and me and my ex just broke up, and then they picked me up, and they're like, you ready to shoot? And I was like, yeah, I'm ready, let's do this. And I remember them making a bunch of black goo. The special effect lady, B something, I forgot her last name. She's really great and she works on really big projects and shows. But she made this goo with like dishwasher soap and like dye and whatever. And they were just like pouring it all over my face. I had it every part of my body. And it's basically like this black figure. And then at the end, it kind of melts onto me. So that was a fun experience.
The life sounds very fascinating, doesn't it? I'm totally like, listen to this. Okay, let's switch over to Brandon here. So I have to ask about the obvious sort of thing. First off, before we get to the part where you are a film student, because that's exciting enough, one of the things I know about you is that you're both a retired Marine. So thank you very much for your service. But you're also a retired boxer. And so my son is fascinated with this, so I have to ask this question. What is the fascination with people beating and pummeling each other for a living all the time? I don't understand this.
What is the fascination with boxing?
Yes, I'm like, why would anyone want to do this to themselves?
It's pure. It's poetry. If it's done right.
Okay.
It's beautiful. You just I don't know. I guess it's another art form you have to appreciate through trial and error, and there are great lessons to be learned in life when you're training in boxing or the martial arts.
Sure.
I also owned a martial arts school for 10 years,
Yes.
and so there are great life lessons to be learned through that training.
Nice.
That was one of my favorite things about owning a martial arts school, is because you get to be, crap, I'm going to get emotional again. I'm an actor and I hate emotions. You get to be the neighborhood dad. And I mean, I've had students that, they go on to college. Everybody leaves the martial arts eventually. But I've had students go on to college and, write back and say, because I went through this, and because you didn't give me anything, you made me earn it, I am now a better college student. I'm now a better employee. I'm now a better entrepreneur than I would have been had I not gone through, those trials.
Okay.
And yeah, that's what I love about what I used to do.
Thank you for that. I want to ask about your time shooting PSAs. So PSAs are a funny thing, and most of us who watch commercials all the time, as a writer, I look at this differently. So I want to ask you a question, which is, nowadays there's a lot of commercials out there and a lot of commercial content that isn't exactly sellable or is just dry and not good. So if I were to ask you, what does a good PSA look like in your mind, what would that answer be?
So it's funny that you mention that, because my last tour in the Marine Corps was as the marketing advertising officer. and whereas a PSA is more or less a general message, I always like to make my general message a message of hope or thank you or just something like that. An ad is you're trying to sell something. A PSA is, hey, make sure you hug your kid today, stuff like that.
Sure. Now, this is a very serious question. My son forced me to have to ask you this, so don't get mad. What's up with the D&D map? How do we get one of those? Because we are big on D&D in my house.
The D&D map.
Yes.
Oh my God, you really did a deep dive on me. Wow. So the D&D map was done about the same time that I thought up my next project, when I was 12 years old. My friend, we played Dungeons and Dragons. We were just huge nerds, and it was awesome. And he made this map, and one day, 20 years later, my kid and I are in the garage, and we're going through some stuff, and she pulls out my old Dungeons and Dragons stuff from when I was a kid. What's this, Dad? And I was like, oh! So I took the map that isn't, I hope he doesn't mind me naming him, Travis Geddes. Travis made, he was an artist anyway, and so I took the map that he made, and I took it to Staples, and I blew it up, and I laminated it, and for the last 7 years, and we just finished our final campaign with my daughter and her friends.
Awesome.
Thank
For
you.
7 years, and we were all crying and everything.
That's awesome.
So-
I had to ask. I was forced and coerced. But most importantly, I want to talk about the film student thing. Now, I talk to a lot of filmmakers, and this is what I deduce. Half of them usually say to me, set life is the education. And then there are other half that are big proponents for education. So, since you are students, talk a bit about how you feel that education has served you, and in retrospect, do you think set life might have done the same thing for you?
So, I don't feel, I mean, you get an education being on a set, yes you do. For me, crap, you're going to make me get emotional again. Being on a set for me is therapeutic. When I got out of the Marine Corps, when Marines get out and we've done 20 years in this beautiful, wonderful, amazing cult that is the Marine Corps. It's a cult. It's a freaking cult. And when you get out and you've done 20 years and you've been part of this regimented lifestyle for so long, and suddenly you have freedom to do whatever you want to do, to hang out. Because, you know, in the military you're told how to cut your hair, who you can hang out with, how to dress, even in your civilian attire, everything. And so you get out and then you find yourself lost a little bit. And I was definitely one of those guys. I sank into a depression. The number that they put out now is about 22 veterans a day are committing suicide because they can't handle, you know, civilian life because there's so much freedom. And so I was looking around for what, you know, I was burned out on owning a business. I had traded one 12-hour day job for another 12-hour a day, 6 days a week, sometimes 7 during tournament season kind of job. And I was burning myself out. And so for 30 years, I realized that I had been living a life in the service to others. And I wanted to find something that I could do for me, for once. Damn it. And I remember, you know, I own a business. I'm doing my own commercials, my own PSAs. I'm on the internet already. People in the neighborhood. I'm the neighborhood dad. I wonder what would happen if I actually tried at acting, because I had a scholarship to college coming out of high school, but I didn't take it, and I joined the Marine Corps instead. So, fine, I got some cheap headshots, and 2 months later I was the Scott's lawn care guy. Yeah.
I didn't say anything.
2 months later I had a national freaking commercial, and for 2 months I was the Scott's lawn care guy until the Super Bowl ad, and then I saw the money that they didn't give me. And I was on set, and I recognized the structure. A set is organized exactly like a military unit. And it was, this is familiar. Shit, I'm getting emotional again. And this was familiar to me. And it felt like home. And no matter what job I had, I was a PA 2 days ago on another set. Whether I'm a PA, whether I'm acting, whether I'm directing, writing, producing, whether I'm working a camera, I know what my part is. That's my part. That's my job. And I know who I report to. And it's so familiar, and it's therapeutic, and it feels like home. So that's what a set is. That's a very long explanation of what a set is to me. And I feel happy. No matter how long I'm on the set, I feel happy when I'm there.
Okay.
Maybe long hours.
So you were on a set with this movie called Calls. So
Yep.
I like to use these interviews as teaching tools for a lot of people. So a lot of what I'm going to ask you about is technique
education.
for one.
You asked about
Education is a
education.
huge, huge thing.
Yep.
So first question I want to ask you about the film in particular is, when you are working in a situation like in this case where there are hostages, people being taken, that sort of good stuff, what sort of mentoring did you give to your actors in terms of getting into that role and then staying in that, because I imagine it's frightening if you have the right villain. You're really pushing.
So the villain I was told them while you were out. The villain was supposed to have been me. I just was doing too much, getting things organized in pre-production, and I was just, I'm just going to go ahead and let somebody else do this. So I got with my Central Pennsylvania agent. I was like, hey, you have a guy who's bald with a beard, and she gave me a whole list of people. Here you go. I was like, okay, well, I'll audition some of these guys. And I loved Ryan, and brought him on board, not knowing that he owned his own film festival at the time. Hired him without knowing that, even though I had met him before, because Turbo Cola was in his film festival. And I was like, man, that guy looks familiar. And we're all in Central Pennsylvania. The community's small anyway, so I was like, yeah, I probably just ran into him somewhere. And then we get to talking on set. Oh, well, I guess whatever we do here might get into a film festival. That's pretty cool. Sorry, what is your question again?
So when we were talking about hostages, as far as when you're working with them,
Yeah.
it's twofold thing, right? So
Yeah.
obviously we'll speak to Michelle as well on this because you're the character itself. So, there's something to be said about some directors who literally frighten the
Yeah.
actor there and getting
No.
into character and things like that. So I was just saying, what sort of mentoring were you giving to her? And then likewise, of course, Michelle, you could speak on being a hostage yourself.
Well, there wasn't really a whole lot of there really wasn't a whole lot of directing her. She just fell right into the role. It was when I speak to actors, and for those of the directors in the audience, please tell me if I'm right or wrong on this. I will give examples of other movies. Like, I speak in movies and 80s pop culture references. So I'll give an example. Like, you remember that scene in XYZ? And the act, okay, yeah, I remember that. So it's finding, for me, it's finding a movie to say, that's what we're going for. And you're feeling this, and here are the rules, because she couldn't get out of the door. I think she had a question about, why can't I get out of the door? Because you're a freaking ghost, and that's the rules of this universe. So making sure that they understand, the parameters that they're working in, specifically for hostage situations. I want to say I had a little bit of training in that, what to do and whatnot. But I also had to remember that she's not military. The character, she's not military. Mm-hmm. She's not going to respond the way military is trained.
I did ROTC for 1 year though.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. I did not know that.
Yeah.
That probably played into it. But it was a lot of just communication, going back and forth. Okay, here's what you need to bring. Try doing it this way, maybe on this take. She fell right into the role. There really wasn't a whole lot of directing other than go here.
So Michelle, over to you and talking about being a hostage yourself. So tell me a bit about the challenges involved with that, because to me I would think that's very grueling, very intense work, very emotional work.
I have to stretch more, in life, because me standing up, I was like, oh no, what's going on? So this film has reminded me to be more active. I think avenues in your life play in your career, and if you're not active in real life, then you're not gonna have opportunity with acting. So that's that little part. But I feel like Brandon, everyone was really nice on set, and you did just really kind of give me a freedom to just kind of interpret it the way I did, and I emotionally prepped how I don't know. So it was, I've watched a bunch of true crime shows, and I kind of just try to hone in on that, how would it really be? And unfortunately, women do get kidnapped all around the world, all the time. So I really kind of just emotionally prepped that way, and just really, really tried to put myself in those shoes. of like how panicked, you could be and how anxious it is and trying to escape and what can you do when you have to be quiet and you can't really make noise because your life depends on it. So it really is just emotional preparation on my end.
But another thing that I loved about the performance that, again, I didn't have to coach, I didn't have to say, was there was a strength to the character as well that you brought.
Yeah.
When you're saying, when you finally, what did you do to me?
Yeah.
What do you want from me? You're following that guy who kidnapped you, and you're yelling at him. And what do you want from me? That to me was a strength. I thought that was very, what's the word I'm thinking of? Poignant? I don't know. Maybe that's the right word. I don't know. I'm from Kentucky.
Poignant. I'll be poignant.
Okay.
I'll be poignant.
So 1 second. Just gotta get right back there. How are we doing? Time.
Good question. 20 minutes.
Good. Okay, good. We're right on task then.
Cool.
I like that. I like to make sure that we're on top of those things. Okay, next question. Again, teaching questions. You're usually set most often in a police station. So that's one set area. And then, of course, you're working with things like blood, which is a whole other dynamic. So let's talk about the police station. Most of us want to film in a police station, try to get into it, and it's so much red tape, so don't even bother. However, how do you recreate that? And most importantly, on the other side of the blood question, I'm always fascinated how you create genuinely good-looking blood. I know that sounds weird, but how did you do both of those things?
It's funny because I got with the makeup department at the college, and they had two wonderful makeup girls who were getting ready to graduate. And they just brought everything. I don't know if you saw the makeup. Daytona and Sarah. Sarah, who played Mary Lee in the restaurant and,
Yeah.
and the fight at the end. So they were also the makeup girls. And they just, I didn't have, again, it's another thing. I think I just got lucky on this thing. I didn't have to really tell anybody to do anything. They just sort of knew. Your makeup was awesome, I thought, throughout the entire, and they were able to recreate it over and over again, which is what you want out of a makeup artist. So I don't know how they did the blood, actually. I know that they brought some, and they did some mixing of some sort, but yeah, I don't know the details of how they made it.
Okay, I thought I would ask, yeah. As far as the police station goes, because like I said, the red tape that goes involved with a real police station. So what did you have access to location-wise? How did you secure that?
So thankfully, when you own a martial arts school, you run into everyone of every walk of life. And two police chiefs in the local area were black belts of mine. And so they were very helpful. Unfortunately, like you said, it's way too much red tape. So I was, again, the week before we shot, I finally found the location that we were going to use for the office. And it turns out that because we were filming over spring break, none of the teachers were in their offices. So we just used the teachers' offices.
Gotcha, that makes sense. I want to talk about the real themes that I saw as a critic and as a judge in watching this. Three things stood out to me. The very cool way that you sliced in humor within something that's so incredibly dramatic and serious. That's number one. Number two, the motivation of the killer itself. I want to talk a bit about that. I'm fascinated with how you came up with that backstory for the villain. How did you do that?
I was very interested when it was happening, the BTK killer. There's a line in the film about, well, just like the BTK killer, he did this. So the BTK killer, the reason why, psychologically speaking, he was able to stop killing for 20 years was because he had a job that gave him that sense of control. And when he retired from that job, he started to go back and do what he used to do because he didn't have that sense of control anymore. And so I really modeled Ryan's character off the BTK, all the BTK stuff that I've read.
Also, when I watched this, I couldn't help myself and think, is there a sequel coming? Because I kind of feel like we could see another one.
There is possibly a feature coming. You heard the story that one of the characters mentioned. The only calls we get is Crazy Ron.
Yeah.
Okay, Crazy Ron is one of my favorite actors,
Okay.
and we almost got him for the short, but he doesn't do shorts. So hopefully we can get him for the feature if there's going to be a feature.
Awesome. Now, if people want to see this film outside of the festival, where are you next?
So we got distribution as of Friday. So it's with Echelon Studios out in California. Calls did not get into their film festival. And then I was like, okay, I'm writing them back. I was like, hey, no problem. I know how it is because I'm a judge at a film festival myself. I know how it is. And no problem. So they write me back. They say, look, we didn't get you in our festival. It just didn't fit this year. But would you be interested? We are looking for short film content for distribution. Would you be interested? And I was like, cool. So what you saw here was the 20-minute version. We had a 16-minute version, but the 20-minute mark seems to be the magic number for distribution. Sure. So when you were talking about the length of certain things happening, yeah, we had to pad this one a little bit. Sure.
So now, I want to ask, Michelle, upcoming for you, what have you got coming as far as project-wise? Things that we can look at and how to find you.
Sure. Let's see what's going on right now. Well, you can find me on Michelle B. Batista on Instagram and my website. I'm auditioning this Friday for a play, so I'm super excited to be back on stage. Yay. Fingers crossed for that one. I am getting my first co-star, guest star role on a show called Grave Sentence. Season 3 is going to come out in March. Super excited. There's lots of legendary actors from The Sopranos. It's based on an 80s mafia type of.
I'm very familiar with it.
Oh, perfect. I play Agent Diaz. Super excited. Haven't met Shaq yet, but I'm waiting. Hopefully we have a scene together in the near future. Okay. So that's going to be really exciting. I have a lot of other short films also that are waiting to get, in post-production. Sure. I did a great short film by my great friend, Jesse. Just the Kid, you can find him. He is a filmmaker, a director, has lots of opinions and comments and skills that are they're over 30 years of experience. You can tell he has an eye for these things. And we had a film festival, a screening 2 weeks ago. It's called Bitch I'm Early. It's doing its run right now, so we're waiting to see where it's going to get distributed in the future, but definitely keep an eye out for that one. And that's kind of it. I'm auditioning a bunch and just trying to stay active and hopefully have my own TV show soon.
Good deal. And Brandon, what's up for you next?
So the next thing I'm doing is another short. We're shooting it in March. It's been in my brain since I was 12 years old. Every scene is inspired by a song from Genesis, which is my favorite band of all time, of any genre. And after that, we're looking to make hopefully another feature, a Goonies. See your shirt there. A Goonies meets Ghostbusters adventure.
Oh,
that's cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
And I don't want to forget to say congratulations to Ryan Chamber, of course, and of course to you for your nomination on Best Dramatic Short Film. So thank you guys so much for that.
Thank you so much.
It's a wrap on that one. How do we